I've always believed that having a learning mindset, treating people with respect, being self-aware, and having a sense of humor, these are all like evergreen leadership attributes.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. I'm your host Neha Murthy, and let's begin with a quick introduction of peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-way integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and video channel, which receives upwards of 200,000 visitors a year and publish around 2 interviews with well-known names globally every month. We have with us today Kashyap Kompella. Kashyap Kompella is the CEO at RPA2AI Research. Kashyap has 20 years of experience as an industry analyst, P&L leader, management consultant, and advisor to leading companies and startups across US, Europe, and Asia Pacific. Kashyap is the author of the bestseller Practical Artificial Intelligence, columnist at Businessline, Info Today US, Speech Tech US, and contributor to Forbes.com. He's been quoted in BBC, Quartz, Economist, ET, Mint, Outlook, Endu, Tech Target, and many more. He's been a speaker at AI World Government Washington DC, Digital Leadership Denmark, AI World Boston, AIIM San Antonio, TEDx, B schools, colleges, IEEE, and corporate events. He has created online courses on AI, blockchain, cloud, automation, and emerging technologies. He is a visiting faculty and Institute of Directors as well as guest lecturer at IIMB. Kashyap has recognized under the top 10 global thought leaders on artificial intelligence by Thinkers 360, 10 most innovative global AI executives by Analytics Insight, and top 10 global thought leader on digital transformation by Thinkers 360. We are extremely thrilled to have someone of his stature speak with us today at peopleHum. Welcome, Kashyap. It's an absolute pleasure having with you us today.
Thank you, Sneha. It's my pleasure.
Absolutely. So, starting right with the questions, Kashyap, can you tell us about your work as CEO at RPA2AI and about the company?
Right, yep. So RPA2AI, it's a global technology industry analyst firm. So let me talk a bit about the name itself. RPA is a simple kind of automation. And there are different types of automation. And at the other end of the spectrum is like complex AI-enabled transformation. So our firm straddles the entire spectrum of transformation, and that's the name RPA2AI. So we primarily serve as on-demand chief AI officers for large organizations. And we advise on enterprise AI strategy, implementation roadmaps, technology selection, and for the HR folks, change management and AI ethics. We also specialize in due diligence for AI technologies for venture capital firms, for private equity companies, and corporate M&A departments. And more recently, we started working with national and regional government and industry bodies to create AI policies, national AI policies, regional AI policies that help sustain business growth, spur technology innovation, identify future professional skills, and how to create new jobs in these sectors. We are headquartered in Bangalore, which is the AI hub of India, but the majority of our customers are outside of India, and we serve them through a network in Bangalore, Boston, Washington, DC, and London. And to the HR audiences out here today, everybody realizes that preparing the workforces, our workforces, for the jobs of tomorrow, that's high on every company's agenda. It's a boardroom agenda. And we work with industry associations in some of these reskilling initiatives. For example, we have developed highly relevant and practical courses on machine learning, blockchain, cloud computing, robotic process automation, which is the RPA in our name, artificial intelligence, and AI ethics. So that's our work advisory, a lot of education and evangelism around enterprise AI and ethical AI.
Wow, that's really interesting. And talking about your book, the bestseller Practical Artificial Intelligence, can you tell us more about it?
Yep. So, yeah, if you think about it, I interact with a lot of the leadership of different organizations. There are many smart business leaders, but these are non-technical, and these are intimidated by AI because, let's face it, it's a complex field, it's jargon filled, it's not easily accessible. But these very same leaders, they have to drive their organization's AI initiatives. So they need to have a solid understanding of AI and its applications and how they can leverage it in their businesses and organizations. So, but there was a gap in the market. As we looked at the various books in the market, there are 40,000 books on artificial intelligence. If you go to Amazon and search today, you'll find that many results. But there was still this gap on AI for leaders with a practical bent. So that's our book. I think I have it here. So this is, it tries to fill that market for practical hands-on book. Let's see what we say here. So we say that we share the lessons and guidelines from the real world that can help your project and career to succeed. And this book provides an understanding of the different forms of AI, how they work, how to build a strategy and run a project. And it also looks at the dark side of AI. So we're not cheerleaders for AI, but we also caution about what are some of the risks of AI and how you can take care of that. And while on books, I want to say that now I'm working on my next book, which is The Art and Craft of Ethical AI. So stay tuned for that. And if I may add one more point, as to if you look at a lot of my body of work is not just around consulting and advisory, but also about democratizing the access to AI, the knowledge of AI. How do we make it more widely spread? So I'm really passionate about it, and I spend a lot of my time pro bono often in teaching masterclasses, conducting workshops in the US, India, and Europe. Because one thing that really, if I look at it, is that a lot of the access to AI knowledge, it's primarily limited to English language speakers. So our company is working on translations of the best practices, different knowledge about AI into different languages so that people in developing countries, emerging economies, they can get involved and make the field of AI more inclusive. But obviously, it's a vast undertaking. And if any of the viewers of this show would like to get involved in these efforts to democratize AI, I would welcome that.
Wow, that's really nice. And as you said, like artificial intelligence, the word itself makes it complex, but as you said, the practical implication of it in the right amount makes it much more easier.
True, true.
And definitely, your book in that sense will help a lot of leaders out there. Thank you so much for that. And also, like as an expertise in AI, have you seen it assisting HR? And what do you think the future of HR tech holds for us?
I think that it's a fascinating question. We can spend an hour or two discussing just this thing. So I will address three different strands. They are sort of they are seemingly interrelated, but probably that connections won't be apparent until. But I'll connect them at the end. So we have been looking at HR tech maybe for the last 5 years or so. And one trend, one big theme that stood out for me is that nowadays everybody agrees that customer experience, superior customer experience, is the basis of competitive differentiation for a company. But what is the path towards superior customer experiences? That path has to go via employee experience. So you see that a lot of organizations have gotten onto the customer experience bandwagon, but only a few progressive organizations have started really investing in employee experience. There was a book probably a decade ago, which is ahead of its time, which said employees first, customers second. So that there is a grain of truth in that. That to really deliver superior customer experiences, you need to have superior employee experience first. So that is point number one. So the next point really is about if you think about the dominant organizational form that we have today, it is an artifact of the post World War II 1950s work arrangements of that time. What was the structure of the firm at that time? So if you think about it, you folks are younger than I am, but if you think about it, the whole work arrangements that we have is related or linked to the lifespan or expected lifespan at that point in time. So you have retirement at 60. You have employers paying your pension because there were fairly long tenures. There is the concept of the salary man or the salary person who retires in the organization they join in when they graduated or things like that when they join. So the health insurance is also linked to the employer or the organization. So all of it clearly is like a, as I would think, or as I'd like to say, it's a 20th century organization form. But now we're in the 21st century, and there is a real need to upgrade to the new organization designs, new organization models and structures that are more aligned to today's realities. And the COVID 19 pandemic really is accelerating some of that change. If you see, there is this talk about how we have adapted to remote work. But at the same time, once some of the COVID restrictions are lifted and we feel much more comfortable, we're going to get back to our offices. So the future really is going to be a mix, and it's going to be a hybrid workforce. Companies that have never considered remote options are going to include some sort of flexible work arrangements. So the job of the HR really has become very interesting now. We need to design that new organizational constructs, deciding is it going to be a corporate headquarters with the different offices, or is it going to be a corporate model where there's a hub and spoke model? When do you bring employees together? Where do you bring employees together? How do you, if some of the workforce is going to be remote, how do you inculcate the organizational culture into that? So these are all very interesting experiments and interesting things that need to be thought through. We need to go back to the drawing board and come up with these organizational constructs. And technology has a big, big role in supporting that. So I'm really excited about the future of HR tech, because the older generation of HR tech really has been about supporting that 20th century post World War II organization construct. But now we have this new opportunity to reimagine everything. So that's really the exciting part of it. As HR people, you all realize that culture plays a very important role in an organization's cohesivity, in an organization's success. But then digital culture is becoming very important. So if 50% of the time a knowledge worker spends is with their digital tools, so their workplace, even though they may be situated in an office, in a physical office, is their glass screen and the apps and the applications they use around it, which we call HR tech. So HR tech has a great role to play in this digital, in fostering a digital culture. So this subject that I'm very passionate about. So I'll continue going on in this way. So we're just at the, as far to sort of summarize, we are at the beginning of the golden age of HR tech, according to me. And if you want, I can talk about the role of AI, which I haven't really talked about yet.
Yeah, definitely.
So you mentioned that I write this column called Future Tense for Business Line. So I wrote a column on how do you prepare the next generation of HR leaders for succeeding in the age of AI. So in that sense, the HR function traditionally has been a consumer of technology. The future will require HR to be much more tech savvy and think more strategically about emerging technologies such as AI and automation. So if you want to be a successful HR leader in the age of AI, you need to embrace a data-driven mindset. You need to understand the essentials of AI, which is yeah, you know when to use AI, and more importantly, when not to use it. So HR has a dual role because they need to enable themselves for AI, to use AI in the HR function through tools such as peopleHum and the other tools, which as consumers of the technology. But they also need to enable the broader organization for the age of AI, the reskilling initiatives that I talked about, what the kind of skill portfolios that the broader organization needs to have, etc. So the role of HR tech will be much more important, but the practitioners have to be upping their digital quotient and their tech quotient.
Wow, thank you so much for giving that amazing in-depth briefing about it. And also, as you said, the to pave the path of success towards the customer experience, we need to improve the employee experience first. And with the situation of pandemic, we've realized how hard and how complicated the HR tech can be, and definitely a hint of AI into it will make it much more better. Also moving on to the next question. As a leader, would you say there are certain leadership qualities that each leader should possess?
See, I'm very wary of giving leadership advice because each leader has to find their own true north. Right? I mean, leadership is like very individual and context specific. So I'm sort of not too keen on doing that. But if I may give one suggestion, I'll say that prioritize being a good human over chasing success at any cost. And if you do that, I believe that success will eventually be yours. So, for example, if we take our own case, a lot of our success, in fact, all of it has come because of people's trust in us. But to build this reputation for being reliable, for being trustworthy, it has not come easy. I mean, it has taken us decades, not even years. So, for example, we often walk away from business opportunities when we won't be able to deliver on it. And sometimes we even refer some of the potential inquiries that we go to competitors because they may be better placed to solve that problem, etc. It sounds crazy, but it's served us well. So that's my approach to leadership as such. But if I were to answer the question in terms of for some of the younger leaders who are looking to sort of see what are some tangible or tactical things that they can focus on, I would say, as I mentioned in my earlier response, improve your digital fluency. So we are increasingly living in a digital world. So be much more comfortable with technology, with the digital tools. What does it mean for your business? What does it mean for your workforces? How do they relate to all these digital tools? That is very important. So increase your digital fluency. Next is a big chunk of leadership is really about communication. And there are really newer ways, newer modes of communication that are coming out. And if, as a leader, if you're the custodian of your brand, if the custodian of, I mean, you have responsibility for marketing, you have responsibility for how your company, your business is perceived in the marketplace, etc. And increasingly, I see that new age leaders who are adept at these newer forms of communication, be it podcasts, be it videos, be it the social media, be it different formats, that really is helping give an edge. We think the example of Elon Musk. People are so passionate about what Elon Musk is doing. A lot of it is what he's doing, but also because he's so adept at using the newer mediums of communication. And in India, I can think of Anand Mahindra, who is setting a great example of how to leverage the newer forms of social media for wider reach, for getting their message across. So those two, I would say, I mean, from tactical point of view, be more digitally fluent and be versatile in your communication mediums.
Thank you so much. It definitely is going to be useful for a lot of leaders watching this out right now. And before wrapping up the interview, lastly, do you have a quote that best defines your feelings towards the future of work, workplace, and you?
Future of work, workplace, and you. That's an interesting question. So I've always believed, this is not a quote, but I've always believed that having a learning mindset, treating people with respect, being self-aware, and having a sense of humor, these are all like evergreen leadership attributes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you. And thank you so much for giving your time and your insights, sharing your insights with us.
Thank you, Sneha. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll stay in touch with you. Take care, stay healthy, stay safe.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.